Good morning, everyone. My name is Morrison. I work for T-Mobile in the accessibility team. We're run under a federal program in partnership with T-Mobile. And the program is known as Deaf-Blind Outreach. Our responsibilities are many. We do community outreach across the country. We want to raise awareness and understanding about the importance of accessibility for people in the deaf-blind community. So the deaf-blind community are often left out of access. Technology, communication, we're often the last community to be served. So we reach out, my team reaches out to schools, organizations, institutions, community centers to provide training, presentations. And our hope is to increase access and removal of barriers for deaf-blind people who are often so isolated. I have two teams. I work with a partner. I'm on the East Coast. And my other team member, whose name is Keith Clark, he works on the West Coast. He's based in Seattle, Washington. And obviously, I'm based here in Boston. I'm originally from New York. Born and raised in a family that could hear. I was the only deaf member of my family, and as I got older, I started to lose my vision. I have Usher's syndrome, and that's why I'm deaf-blind today. Prior to my joining T-Mobile, I was a teacher. I love teaching. I love teaching kids any age, any littles all the way up through high school. And I've also taught at the higher education level. So I'm a kind of jack of all trades. Then COVID hit. So that's when I switched careers and I joined the T-Mobile team. Very excited to be on that team. I mean, how many corporations have a deaf-blind person on their team? Can you imagine? And the input that we can provide is valued and listened. So it's been a wonderful experience to be on the T-Mobile accessibility team. So today, my agenda, well, I have three things I want to talk about, the 3 C's. I also want to talk about cyber safety as well. Accessibility and technology. What do we have? What's available currently? And so important is access to communication. Great. In the deaf-blind community, we try to encourage the concept of interdependence. For so many years, decades, people encourage independence, how to be independent, but ironically, we're not independent. None of us are. We have technology that can help us be autonomous. But as far as individuality or being individuals, I mean, think about your own lives. How would you be without your phones? Yeah. Would you be able to survive without your phone 24/7? It's attached to you. You know, if the battery goes off or you run out of charge, what's your first response? We're not independent. We are dependent on many different kinds of technology. And that's a reality of our lives today. For example, let me give you another example. We're interdependent on our travel, how we travel. We rely on our cars or bus or trains or subways to get from point A to point B. We rely on information through technology to find out about traffic, to find out about the weather, bus, trains, scheduling, times. We depend on all of these for information. So truly, we're not independent. We are interdependent. And how are we accessing that information? Mostly through technology. So I really want to encourage you to consider the concept of interdependence with the concept of autonomy as well, and how they live together. So when you do that, so now we move into the idea of co-navigation with your child. Co-navigation. Children are so curious about the world. That's just normal. And the deaf child or a deaf-blind child, everything is learned through touch. They depend on touch or tactile experiences. If a child who can hear, they're depending on the auditory input that they're getting. But imagine if you have a fully deaf-blind child, their experience of the world will be very, very different than yours. Just so you know, I've got my PowerPoint on my phone, speaking of interdependence. So when a child is born, what's the first thing that that baby needs? Somebody want to offer an idea? You can shout out if you want, but what does a newborn need? What's the first thing a newborn needs? And
someone said touch.
well, hold on, we're doing a little bit about do we want to do the PowerPoints? I'm on the third page, the third slide. Okay.
We'll move that along. Just, if you don't mind, just having Sar indicate when next slide.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So, see, interdependence. I couldn't do my job without the team over here. Thank you so much. So what was it? The first thing, when a child is born, they need touch, touch, absolutely. Right, touch and skin, yeah. Connection, somebody else signed, connection, bonding, so important. For a child to thrive, they need to be held, touched, cuddled. And as the child grows, what happens is we often remove that tactile sensory piece. You know, if you're going, let me give you an example. If you're out food shopping, I mean, I remember this happened to me. And my mom would say, don't touch, right? What do we always say as parents? Don't touch, don't touch. And I would be wanting to touch everything. It's a normal response. Kids are curious. It's normal to want to touch things. If you touch something, then if a child is touching something, then you have an opportunity to enrich that experience by explaining what it is that they're touching. The power of touch is so critical. If your child is upset and crying, what's your instinct to do? Give them a hug or a cuddle. How to help them de-escalate, soothe. So touch is a tool. Let me give you an example. A child who might be blind or low vision, and you want to explain to them how something, what something looks like. We have iPhones, we have iPads, right? I'm going to use my interpreter as an example. You can just draw it on their hand, right? Pretend the palm of your hand is the phone. You can show them the different apps and where they're located on the home screen and what it looks like by using the palm of your hand. Here's where the weather app is. Here's where, if you want to make a phone call, you can show them using your hand, and then they can make the connection to the item or the product. If you curve your hand, there's a cup. You're going to pour something into the cup and fill it up, water or milk or whatever, a plant. I think it's really important to understand how important touch is and how people learn through touch. I think it's critical. You can also advocate for your child, make sure that you know their rights and that they know their rights as well. There are services that babies can get, early intervention all the way up through their school years, but that advocacy is really important as a parent to know what their rights are and for the child themselves to understand as they get older what their rights are. Most people don't know. They don't know what kind of support services are available out in the world. And when it's time to flee the nest, they don't know what to do. They don't know what's available or how to get services. Part of our team at T-Mobile, we provide resources to educate people to make sure that the deaf-blind adult or young adult, young person, are connected to the resources that they need for success in life. So that leads to a different awareness, cyber awareness, right? We have access to all of these phones and iPads and computers. How do we make sure our children are safe? So we co-navigate this area. We co-navigate the world of safety with them. So before I get into cyber safety, let's see. The next slide, please. Previously, I explained how to connect your child to the digital world, and I use the term co-navigation because you're going to do it together. Sit down with them, explain the process. How do you be safe in the process? And again, accessing through touch. If they're not able to see it on the actual phone, you can draw it on their hands, like I explained before. But you could also look at the screen. What does it look like? And explain it to them. Give them a visual picture. Next slide, please. Do we do connect? So we look the connection. Okay, great. Thank you. So there's so many varieties of accessible technology open for your child and for you. I mean, luckily, I mean, you're here, you're aware of a lot of it. Some people don't have any idea, but you're here at this conference. That's why you're here. You want to know what's available for your child or for your students. There are so many different accessible tools available that could be Braille, it can be large print, it could be screen readers. I'm a strong lover of the Mac Apple products. So easy for me to navigate with their accessible tools. I can change the font, I can change the color, I can change the screen. It just makes it more, that just helps me be a more autonomous computer user. So I'm a very fond of the Apple products. My iPhone also, even your iPhone, all of our iPhones have a lot of accessibility features you might not be aware of. You can change the font, you can change the colors, you can make things bigger. There's a magnifying glass, but that also, that helps me feel more safe and more autonomous because I'm in control of the information that I'm looking at or looking for. And that feels really good to be in control and autonomous. There are also many accessible apps you can add to your computer or your phone or your iPad. I'm just curious, how many use Google? Can you raise your hands? How many people use Google? Everybody, right? Yeah, we love Google. Can't live without Google, right? It's so funny because back in the day when I was in college, I'd have to go to the library. Do you remember the file cabinets with the Dewey Decimal Code and all the cards? And I'd have to get the number and look it up and go to the stacks and find the book. Wow. I mean, I appreciate that, the skill of navigating a library, but right now, how fast and easy is it and time saving to press, hey Siri or Google. It's also important for you to teach your child with the technology as you're co-navigating with them, but also to teach them how to make a call. If they want to talk to their grandparents or an aunt or an uncle or a friend, or you want to provide them that kind of autonomy to feel confident to be able to make a call on their own. As I said, I'm from a family of everybody who could hear. My family knew nothing about access for the deaf community until I was 10 years old. So for 10 years, I just got by, barely navigating the world. And of course, I acted out a lot. Why? I was bored. I wanted to be connected. I wanted to be engaged. I'd see my sister and brother watching television, no captions. It was boring. I'd say, come play with me. So what would I do to get their attention? I'd go turn off the television and they'd get mad and they, Mom, Morrison's turning off the TV. I wanted to be connected and have access. When I was 10, I got my first TTY. Who knows what TTYs are? Hands up, a few of you? Great. Let me do a quick explanation for people who are not familiar with the TTY. So it's a teletypewriter for people in the deaf community to be able to make a call. This is back in the day with landlines and telephone poles. Do you remember that? You'd pick up the phone and there'd be a long curly wire and you'd have to dial a number. Remember all that? Well, we would take the handpiece and you would attach it to a coupler that was connected to a typewriter. Now, remember, I was 10 when I got my first TTY. I would call my best friend who could hear, and we would talk and talk and talk. I would type and they would type. And finally, I felt like a normal kid. I could call my friend anytime I wanted to. And every child should have that freedom to make a call to a family member or a friend whenever they want to. Next slide, please. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about communication and the importance of communication and why it's so important for your child to have communication access. They're isolated from the world without it. When you think about text-based communication, which is something that I use, I'm able to use video. I'm not able to use video-based communication very well myself, but for me, for text-based, that's what I can use. But let's find out what's best for your child. What's positive for your child? When you think about literacy skills and using the phone and emails and texting their parents or their friends, that's going to enhance their literacy skills. And it really encourages them to learn to love to read and write. When I think about my nieces and nephew, this is funny. My niece would text me and I'd get all these emojis, right? But each emoji meant something to her. That was her way. That was like her writing tools. She was sharing with me how she felt. You know, the sun or a smiley face or a tear, you know, and she was obsessed with unicorns. Thought a lot about unicorns. We'd go back and forth, but it was a way I could bond with my niece and she could bond with me. Next slide, please. Great. Who's ready to go on a journey? Let's take a ride. Next slide. How many of you really understand cybersecurity or have some basic understanding or knowledge of cyber safety? Great. How many of you feel comfortable navigating that with your child? Or are you trying to figure out how to do that, how to keep your child safe and how for them to know how to use technology safely? So how do we teach our children to be safe in this huge cyber world? Many parents set up parental controls, which you can get on your phones or your televisions or your computers or iPads. You can set up parental controls and locks, but if you're not sure how, don't be afraid. I'm a Mac user, like I said. So there's so many amazing team supports that you can get either through your computer provider or customer care team at T-Mobile. We can show you how to set up your phone or your device. I was thinking about, kids, think of kids, 10 years old, right? You think that's young, but they have phones, right? 10 years old. So you want to make sure their phone is set up for them to be safe. You want to be able to track where they're going. You want to track what they're doing, what they're looking at. There are ways that you can create a more safe world for your child in this digital world. That also includes gaming, video games. Kids like to play video games, no doubt about that. Next slide, please. Here's a test for you. How many people live in the United States? What's the population of the USA? Just guess, roughly. Doesn't have to be exact, but how many people are there in, just shout it out. Oh, there. How many do you think? How many people live in the United States? Any answers? Any guesses? So I'll tell you, approximately 380 million people live in the United States, approximately. So how, and of course, that number is growing. But when you look at this number, of those 380 million, 311 have access to the online services or the digital world. Imagine that, 98%. 98 of the population in the United States has access to the digital world. That's astonishing. Next slide, please. So we have tracked that 69% of users have experienced some kind of risk just in 2023. That's a high number. So what do we do to make sure that our children are safe and ourselves as well? Next slide, please. So don't worry. What's important is that you develop the skills yourselves and you the awareness of these different things that could happen and to increase your safety. So let me review a few of these cyber problems that come up, some of these issues and threats. Phishing with the PH, scams, hackers, and cyberbullying. Those four are probably the most critical issues and the most common issues that occur. And I can even share experience that I had in high school with cyberbullying. I'm old, but how many of you remember using AOL? Do you remember that dial-up service? I loved it. You know, you type it in and it'd be like beep, 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 beep. Welcome to AOL. You're right. You've got mail. Do you remember that? And there were chat rooms, instant messaging, IMs. And I remember the first time that I got a bullying message from another high school student and a username came up. And I saw this, I was very upset. My parents actually called the police. Cyberbullying happens so much, but now with the presence of social media, ever presence of social media, the amount of cyberbullying, it has increased exponentially. How many of you know what phishing is? Where someone tries to bring you in to do something you don't want to be doing, like, or steal your information. Do you have an understanding of that concept? Raise your hand, shout it out. Let me know. What do you tell me? Just call it out. What is phishing? You know, and if people on Zoom want to type in a response in the chat room, that's fine too. But what is phishing? Can someone share that with me?
People trying to get your credit information.
Yes, yes, definitely. That's one. What else?
Posing as a company and trying to get your identity. And then we have something online that's saying people trying to get any personal information, your address, your age, etc.
Yes, 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 to all of those. Kids are more at risk because they don't realize who they're talking with. If there's a scam text message, you know, we get those every day probably, and we look at them and go, oh, just delete. But a child may not know that. So that's something that needs to be taught to the child. If you see a number that you don't know, you don't recognize, delete it. Or talk to your parent. If you know the name and it's a contact in your phone list, go ahead and respond. But if it's something that you've never seen before, don't respond. Those are things we need to teach. I mean, a long time ago, you remember, just say no, don't talk to strangers on the streets. Remember? Now we have to teach them, don't say no to strangers in the digital world. Delete the contact or delete that text. Next slide, please. So how do we co-navigate the cyber world safely? Teaching our children to pause, to wait, think about what they're looking at. Do they know it? Is it familiar? If it's not, report it. Report to a trusted adult or a trusted caregiver. When you think about, like, what do we always tell kids with stop, drop, and roll if there's a fire alarm? Stop, drop, and roll. Now we're saying pause, check, and report. Next slide, please. Great. So that we just reviewed the basics of cyber safety. So please feel free to come up to me and ask me any questions. I love direct contact with people after my presentation, or you can come up to me, ask me any questions, and I'm happy to answer whatever you ask me. So communication technology. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit about the TTYs from the good old days. The first picture that you see, that giant gray metal box, how many of you have seen something like that before? It's a dinosaur. It was a huge metal clackety machine. The next in the middle is a smaller version of the same thing, the teletypewriter. The next one, do you remember those sidekicks? Who remembers sidekicks? But it shows the evolution of technology through the ages, from the dinosaurs, quote unquote, to a more compact version that fits in your pocket. But it's funny because with the iPhones, they were a standard size, and now they're big again. People like having a bigger piece of screen. And again, you have options to fit your own personal needs. Not everybody can access a small screen or teeny buttons. So if it's a little bit bigger, it might fit you better. And for the deaf-blind community, it's great. I love the iPad 12. Oh my goodness. The 12-inch screen, it's so accessible for me. Very cool. Next slide, please. So here we are today. The deaf community love being able to make calls using FaceTime, using the video relay services, VRS. It's abbreviated as VRS, video relay service. Going through operators in the middle picture. I can call the doctor's office. I can call my employer, whatever, but I can make a call using a video relay service. And there you see a picture texting on their phone or talking on their computer. So many different options now. And what's really cool, was there a hand up? Did I see a hand up? Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not familiar with video relay service. I was wondering if you could tell us how that works.
Oh, terrific. Sure. Thank you for asking. VRS, Video Relay Service. So it's based, let me explain this. Do you remember the TTYs where you would call each other by using your landline and type back and forth on with an LED readout screen? If a deaf person makes a call to a person who can hear, if the hearing person didn't have a TTY, they couldn't make that call. Through a relay service, the call would be routed to an interpreter, like the person with the headset, and that person would type what's being said and read back and forth. So they'd be like an intermediary, right? So the hearing person listens to what the interpreter listens to what the hearing person says, types it to the deaf person reads it on their TTY, types back an answer, and the interpreter speaks. That concept, that's back in the dark ages, and that evolved into video relay service, VRS. So it's the same concept. It can be, we do have text-based, but now you can make a call through the video. I make a call, the interpreter will appear on my screen and say, "Hi, are you ready to call?" And I'll say yes. The interpreter will dial the number and will interpret the call through video. So whatever the hearing person says, the interpreter will sign and translate. And whatever the deaf person is signing, they will speak to the hearing person. So it's like three-way video. Does that make sense? Great. Heavily visually based, not always the best for someone with low vision or someone who is deaf blind. I used to use video, but as my vision has changed, I don't use it much because it's not very accessible for me. It's the visual is too blurry. So I became highly dependent on text-based. I'll show you what that looks like really soon. Great. Next slide, please. Oh, perfect timing. Look at this. So let me think about, there's a link. Is there a link on the slide there? So I'm wondering if, can you go into the website? Let's pause this slide for a second. So can you open the T-Mobile IP website? Let's just pause for a sec. Very exciting. T-Mobile IP relay. Oh, you're good. While we're waiting, you know what I forgot to explain? I forgot to explain why we have 4 interpreters here. We have a team of 2 interpreters who can hear and 2 interpreters who are deaf. The interpreters who can hear are speaking and you can hear them. And the deaf interpreters are interpreting and also giving me visual information as well, what's happening in the room. I forgot to say that. So thank you. Here we are. Welcome to T-Mobile accessibility page. That's perfect. So this website You can sign up and it's free. So you can make an account for your child or for you. This is for the IP relay. So if your child can read and write, I would say probably age 8 and above, encourage them, let them play around, let them explore this. I mean, with you by their side, of course, to show them how to use the app and how to use the relay. So once you register for an account, then you log in. There'll be a box asking for your communication style. Let me log in. So I'm gonna give you my login information, okay? So this is what the page will look like. So you can see there's a conversation box on the left. There's a make or receive call with the phone number, frequently dialed numbers, contacts, or you can type in the number that you want to call. So you'll see my phone number. That actually is my phone number. Okay, just making sure that this is definitely my page. The interpreter is letting me know. Great. So I'm going to enter, I'll use one of the interpreter's phone numbers. Or Kelly, should I call you? Who's got? Okay, here we go. Hopefully we'll use the interpreter's phone number and show you how that works. 857-928-0094. Can you put that in? Can you type that in for me, please? In the number to call. In the number to call, right? 857-928-0094. Dial. Great. Now go up a little bit. It says T-Mobile IP relay. One moment. Hi, this is Jody. Thank you. So now it said, this is Jody GA. Can you type a response, please? Say, this is Laura. And then you have to type GA, which means go ahead. Hey, Laura, when's lunch? GA. We're using you as a demonstration in a conference. So hold on one second. So you're getting the idea. So I'm going to show you how to disconnect now or hang up. So go down to the bottom right. Oops, sorry. I was wrong. Bottom left where it says end. So thank you, operator. Great. But you still have other options, and this is very important, especially for a child in high school. When you think about transitions, thinking about high school, college, real world employment, this is an important feature because we want to encourage them to save their conversations. For example, if you're calling work, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a new location or an address and you want to save that. So you call, get the address, and you're going to save it. Or the doctor is sending you results from tests and you're going to chat with the doctor, have a conversation with the doctor about what happened, but you want to save that conversation to review later. Maybe you want to show a family member or a colleague and need some clarification. So it's important to be able to know how to save the conversations, maybe even for legal situations. Maybe you are trying to figure out through what you're going to meet a service provider. You've got mobility training, or the Mass Commission for the Blind wants to contact. There's details that are important information that you want to remember. This is a wonderful feature. You can copy it or send it as an email. Many of our customers love these features, the copy or the email, to be able to save the conversation. Very important. Okay, so we've hung up. You can hit done. Great. So what I just showed you can be accessed through the T-Mobile website. There's also a T-Mobile IP Relay app. Both can be accommodated to meet your child or young person's needs visually or auditorily. It's a free service. The people who qualify, deaf people qualify, people who are hard of hearing, people with speech disabilities, blind, of course, deaf blind people. Students with, there are people who can hear but have speech disabilities can also use this service and will qualify for the free service. People often ask us if we have to have T-Mobile as our carrier to get this app, and you do not. You can use, if you have Verizon or AT&T or other myriad of services that are providers that are out there, they're compatible with this IP relay from T-Mobile. And it also works on any network. Wi-Fi. So any questions up to now?
Sorry, we did have one question. Was asking if you had to have T-Mobile in order to have the service, but you just asked that. And I have another question from the chat. Ready?
Just 1 second. Yes. Next, what's the question, please?
The question is, this is Bernadette. Thank you, Morrison. The terminology you used in your introduction was so helpful. Would you recommend for a congenital deafblind 1 or 2 year old who cannot, what would you recommend for a congenital deafblind 1 or 2 year old who cannot read text yet to help them start using digital devices to communicate with others? For example, to find out where in the home their parents are, or to connect with grandparents who live somewhere else.
Thank you, Bernadette. I suggest think about any typical 1 or 2 year old, right? I mean, a great question. So, because they're also, doesn't matter what, either disability or not, the able-bodied, not able, but whatever, they may not be speaking yet, right? 1 or 2 year olds. So you think about parity with that. So a lot of exposure, first of all, exposure to text. If you're sitting with your child, well, I think about my nieces and nephews who can't, are 1 or 2 years old, right? They're not picking up their phones and using the phones to make a call. But my brother or sister-in-law will hold the phone and describe and say, here's auntie, and we might have a conversation. When you think about with the deaf-blind child, you're saying you can generally deaf-blind, touch, on their hand, and you can sign, this is grandma, this is grandpa. Hand, either your hand on the phone, if they start getting exposed to Braille and the touch, and show them, and they can show it. So that way they will eventually start to make the connection between the Braille and the word, right? So this is, you think about what you do to expose your child who is 1 or 2 years old to text or literacy, or emerging literacy with deaf-blind, touch, right? That's what is going to connect. You say, oh, grandma's on the phone. You would do the same, just a lot of repetition, a lot of touch, and you make those associations, and it becomes routinized almost. So if every night you're going to call grandma to say goodnight, that becomes a pattern and something that they're used to, right? And that is how your child will start to develop the skills on their own. Great question. Thank you.
Any questions from the live participants?
I do want to emphasize that in general, it takes an average of 7 years to master a language, no matter what language that is. And we're all not linguists here, right? We're all still learners, no matter what age we are. And because we live in a more digital world, our words have evolved as well, and our conversations have evolved. I mean, kids will just talk and say, LOL. They won't laugh. They'll just say, LOL. So language itself is evolving. and how we communicate and how we interact, our discourse is evolving, and that's natural. But I do think co-navigation with your child, touch is really, really important. They're not going to learn on their own or have, learn through osmosis. That's impossible. More questions, thoughts?
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Sar, for coming and chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me today. And I'm going to be here till 1:00. So if you'd like to come up and talk to me, the Zoom, nice connecting with all of you in the Zoom room. Have a great day. Thank you.